I'm absolutely crazy about garlic. Seriously, who doesn't love it? Garlic is one of those ingredients that feels impossible to live without. It's a kitchen staple that brings an explosion of flavour to any dish, adds a wonderful aroma to your cooking, and, as a bonus, it's incredibly simple to grow right at home, even if you don't have a huge garden. But I also know from experience just how frustrating it can be when you put time and effort into planting garlic, only to end up with tiny, underdeveloped bulbs instead of the big, plump ones we all hope for. That's exactly why today I'm sharing my absolute best tips, based on years of trial and error, to help you grow garlic that's larger, healthier, and far more satisfying. With these tricks, your next harvest can truly be impressive and worth showing off. So let's not waste any time and dive right into planting. Believe it or not, growing large, beautiful garlic bulbs actually starts long before spring. The key is in how you prepare and when you plant. For many new gardeners, it can feel a bit strange to put garlic in the ground during autumn, especially at a time when most plants are dying back, the leaves are falling, and the weather is turning cold. But garlic is a hardy, resilient plant that actually thrives under this schedule. By planting in autumn, you're giving it a major head start, which sets it up for a fantastic growing season. Of course, timing is absolutely everything when it comes to garlic. Plant it too early and it might sprout too soon and risk frost damage. Plant it too late and it won't have enough time to establish strong roots before winter sets in. Understanding exactly when to plant garlic can make all the difference in your harvest size, and I'll walk you through how to get that timing just right. One thing garlic absolutely cannot stand is being stuck in wet, heavy, poorly drained soil. If your soil tends to stay damp or muddy through the winter months, growing your garlic in raised beds will completely change the game. Raised beds improve drainage dramatically, which keeps your garlic from rotting. Choose the sunniest part of your garden because garlic loves basking in full sunlight all day long, and this will give your plants the energy they need to produce those gorgeous bulbs. Before planting, I spend some time preparing my beds carefully. I clear away any leftover plant debris from the previous season, pull out weeds, and mix in a generous layer of rich, well-rotted compost. This compost isn't just for nutrition, it's alive with beneficial microorganisms that improve soil health, which in turn helps garlic grow stronger and more resilient. I also like to add a slow-release organic fertilizer. My favourite is a traditional mix called blood, fish, and bone meal. This fertilizer is perfect because it breaks down slowly over the winter months, meaning that by spring, when garlic really starts growing, all those nutrients are already available to the plants. If you'd rather avoid animal-based products, don't worry. You can use a high-quality general-purpose organic fertilizer instead. Look for one that has slightly more potassium, as potassium supports strong root systems and bulb development. Fertilizers designed for onions also work beautifully because garlic and onions are close relatives and have very similar nutritional needs. Autumn is the absolute best time to plant garlic, but the exact timing will vary depending on your climate. I live in a mild, temperate region, so I tend to plant garlic in late autumn. However, if you're gardening in a colder area with harsher winters, it's better to plant earlier, ideally in early to mid-autumn, to give your garlic plenty of time to settle in before the ground freezes. A reliable rule of thumb is to plant garlic about 3 weeks after your region's first frost date. This timing is crucial because garlic needs a long, consistent cold period to develop properly. Without that chill, the cloves won't form into large bulbs. On average, garlic needs around 10 full weeks of temperatures below 45 degrees Fahrenheit, or about 7 degrees Celsius, to trigger proper bulb development. But what if you live in a warmer climate like USDA Zone 10 or higher, where you won't naturally get that cold spell? Don't worry. There's a simple solution. You can trick garlic into thinking it has been through winter by chilling it in your refrigerator. Place your bulbs in a paper bag or an airtight container and leave them in the fridge for around 10 weeks. This artificial winter treatment ensures the cloves get the signal they need to start bulbing once planted. There are also special varieties bred for spring planting, but unless the label clearly says you can skip the chilling process, I highly recommend doing it anyway. It's one of the simplest ways to guarantee better results. When you get this timing right, your garlic will reward you with a stronger, healthier, and much more productive harvest. Once your cloves are properly chilled and ready, it's finally time to get them in the ground. I start by separating each bulb into individual cloves, being careful not to damage the papery skins. I then mark out evenly spaced planting holes, about 6 inches apart in all directions, and arrange them in neat, straight rows. This spacing is important because it gives each plant enough room to breathe, which helps prevent fungal problems and encourages larger bulbs. Plus, neat rows make your beds easier to weed and manage. When it comes to depth, I usually plant my garlic cloves about 5 inches deep, so that once covered, they have roughly 4 inches of soil sitting on top. This depth is perfect because planting too shallow can leave your garlic vulnerable to frost damage, while planting too deep can make it harder for shoots to emerge in spring. Always make sure to plant cloves with the correct orientation. The flat base, where the roots will grow, goes down, and the pointed tip, where the shoot emerges, faces upward. Here's another valuable tip. Always start with the biggest, healthiest cloves you can find. There's a direct link between clove size and final bulb size. Large cloves almost always produce large bulbs. Save the smaller cloves for cooking instead of planting them. Garlic is tough, but one thing it won't tolerate is soggy soil. If your garden stays too wet during winter, you can always start your garlic in deep pots or seed trays. Plant them at the same depth as you would outdoors, and keep the trays in a sheltered place, such as a greenhouse or cold frame. Once spring arrives and the soil outside is workable again, simply transplant your garlic into the garden beds. Another fun fact about garlic is that it makes a fantastic companion plant. Garlic naturally repels pests like aphids and works beautifully when planted beneath fruit trees, such as apples and pears. If you're curious about designing more companion plant pairings, consider using a garden planner tool to map out your beds and find the best plant combinations. Now let's talk about garlic varieties because choosing the right type is also key to success. There are two main categories, softneck and hardneck garlic. Softneck is the type most commonly found in grocery stores. It produces bulbs with many smaller cloves, and its biggest advantage is that it stores exceptionally well, often for up to a full year if kept under the right conditions. Softneck garlic thrives in warmer regions and is perfect for gardeners in milder climates. Hardneck garlic, in contrast, produces fewer cloves per bulb, but those cloves are larger and often have a stronger, more complex flavour. Hardneck varieties also produce garlic scapes, those curly, delicious flower stalks that appear a few weeks before harvest. These scapes are edible and can be sautéed, pickled, or blended into a flavourful pesto. Hardneck garlic doesn't store quite as long as softneck, but it's an excellent choice for colder climates. Since I live in USDA Zone 8, I'm lucky enough to grow both types and enjoy the best of both worlds. Once your garlic is planted, the next step is to protect it for the winter. I always cover my beds with a layer of mulch. My favourite mulch is a simple layer of fallen leaves, but straw or compost works just as well. In my mild climate, mulching isn't absolutely necessary, but if you garden in a colder region, it's essential. A 2-inch layer of mulch acts like a cozy blanket, keeping the soil insulated and protecting your garlic cloves from deep freezes. This also helps keep the soil biologically active for longer, which means your garlic can put down strong roots before going dormant. In fact, you might even notice tiny green shoots poking through before winter fully sets in. Don't worry if you see this. Garlic is hardy and will pause its growth until warmer weather returns. To keep your mulch from blowing away, you can weigh it down with sticks or water it lightly to help it settle in place. Under this protective blanket, your garlic will quietly develop a strong, healthy root system, getting ready to burst into growth in spring. When the days start getting longer and temperatures begin to rise, you'll notice your garlic plants growing quickly. This is an exciting stage, and it's also when your care routine matters most. Keep your beds weed-free because garlic doesn't like competition, and make sure to water regularly during dry periods. Garlic needs consistent moisture while bulbs are swelling, but as always, avoid letting the soil become soggy. Once you notice the lower leaves starting to turn slightly yellow, it's time to reduce watering and allow the bulbs to mature naturally. To get the biggest possible bulbs, snip off any scapes or flower stalks that appear. Even if you don't plan on eating them, removing scapes will redirect energy back into bulb growth. You'll know your garlic is ready to harvest when several lower leaves have turned yellow and dried out. This signals that bulb growth has stopped. Be careful not to wait too long, as overripe bulbs may split or lose their ability to store well. When it's harvest time, use a garden fork to gently loosen the soil beneath each bulb. Pull them out carefully by the stem, taking care not to bruise or damage them. Depending on your location and when you planted, garlic is usually ready sometime between late spring and late summer. Always use the leaves as your guide rather than relying on a calendar. Once you've harvested your garlic, resist the urge to clean it right away. Freshly dug bulbs need to cure first. Lay them out in a single layer in a warm, dry, well-ventilated spot. A shed, greenhouse, or even a sunny windowsill works perfectly. Leave them for 2 to 3 weeks until the foliage is dry and crispy and the outer skins feel papery. Store your cured garlic in breathable mesh bags, baskets, or trays in a cool, dark and dry place. Properly stored garlic can last for months, but if your family loves garlic as much as mine does, you'll probably use it all long before it ever has a chance to spoil. Thank you so much for following along. I hope these tips help you grow the biggest, healthiest garlic bulbs you've ever seen.